Okay, good. Right. So, welcome to this week's book summary club, and great to see Gary with us today. And today's book is going to be the 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran. Just talking earlier that Gary, you picked this book up a couple of years ago, you said?
Yep.
And found it very useful, but it's always good as a refresher to come back to this and see how, really how you're applying it, because it's all very well taking the concepts, but if we're not applying it, then it can be a bit of a challenge to us. So really, I mean, the premise of this is, if you can get whatever you can get done in 12 months, if you actually set yourself to do that in a quarter, then you can achieve 4 times as much as you would do in 12 months. The other thing is, quarterly periods. We've always worked in Action Coach to 90-day plans. The seasonality, spring, summer, winter, autumn. Part of that is the way our brains work. We tend to can sort of think that far forward reasonably easily. If you're thinking in summer mode, you're in a particular mode, autumn mode, winter mode. If you've ever tried buying a sort of swimming costume in December, it's often not easy, just because you're not really in that mindset to do summery things. So this sort of concept fits into our human psyche, and the more we can actually understand our own sort of biorhythms and how our brains work, then let's use them for their strengths rather than try and fight against it. If you're trying to fight against something, then it's always going to be a lot harder work. So what was the sort of the overall message when you read this the first time, Gary? What did you sort of think overall, about how you'd been working in the past through the concepts that this book was talking about?
Like I say, most companies have some sort of annual plan or plan at all, but the idea was like you say, to increase what you can do. So what you can do in a year, basically put it down into a quarter, put it down into 12 weeks, and try it that way. Like I say, push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you can do it in a year, why not 12 weeks?
Yeah.
And like you say, it gives you somewhere to aim at, gives you a bit more of a goal. And we covered it. Was it big, hairy, audacious goals?
Yeah.
A goal, can become big and audacious if you, rather than a year, stick it into 12 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that is key. It's it's looking this, and I say the only reason you need a plan is if you've got a goal, and I think that's almost the starting point. That too many people that I see, certainly people that are running their businesses, are so busy in the day-to-day, in the sort of reactive firefighting, that they haven't actually set any goals. They goal, and certainly the last was saying the last 60 days of lockdown, the goal has been to survive. So that's a fairly simple goal. And there may be 2 or 3 things that you need to do in order to achieve that. Therefore, you could argue, well, why do I need a plan? If it is very reactive, short term, I just need to survive, then you don't need a particularly detailed plan to do that. If you're looking to say, right, coming out of this, with the bounce back that we all want to go through, I want to come back in 12 months' time in a stronger place than I was when I went into this. That's a far more complex goal. There's a lot more that we need to sort of focus on, and therefore, we've got to get into this sort of mindset of breaking that goal down into its bite-sized chunks. 12-week periods. If you struggle with 12, make it a month. If you struggle with a month, make it a week. If you struggle with a week, make it a day. Just plan what you're going to do tomorrow. But by training, the way that you think and stop that reactive side of things, then you've got a far better chance of success, which is really key. So you know, I think the first bit was for me was sort of setting, setting the scene, what the concept of the book is. So if we come down to the, key idea from the 12-week year, you know, we see the same concept by periodization as used by athletes. I was actually doing a blog the other day, and it sort of came to me that if somebody came to me and said, "Look, I'd like you to run to the end of the street," would I need a detailed plan to actually do that? And no, that's pretty simple. I can just sort of start. I start running, I'll get to the end of the street. And then the same friend comes to me and says, "Right, I want you to run a marathon this time next year." Would I then actually need to put that plan together? And I think, I wouldn't just start running. I wouldn't say, "Oh, great, I'm going to start running a marathon." So what, let's just start running, see where we get to. I'd have to break it down into bite-sized chunks, and everything, from my diet to my fitness to my training, all of those things would need to be meticulously planned, because I've suddenly put a deadline in place. I'm going to run the London Marathon, in April 2021. Suddenly there's a reality to that, and therefore I've either got to commit to that or I don't. And the interesting, I wrote this one here. We are wired to procrastinate. Procrastination is our, it's almost like our default setting. Don't make decisions. And I don't know. I certainly find that for me, I do still catch, even though I know this stuff, I still catch myself procrastinating. What's your take on procrastination? Or do you want some time to think about it?
No, it's funny you've highlighted that phrase as well. I did exactly the same.
Yeah.
For me, like I'm one of the ones that I would leave things to the last minute. Deadlines are good for me because I know I have to get them done. But I'll always leave them to the end to get them done.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So within the framework of the book, like you say, it gives you that end time to get those goals done. It gives you something to work to.
Yeah. I think, and I often say to people, go back to when you were at school. When you were at school, when did you get your homework done? If you were a last minuter, then chances are you've still got those behaviours now. If you've meticulously planned and got it done early and then enjoyed yourself, then you've probably got those traits now. So there is this sort of natural sort of procrastination, leave it to the last minute, and then the pressure's on. And so a lot of people say, "Oh no, I work better under pressure." No, you don't. That's just the habit you've got into, and you've got away with it. Nobody works better under pressure. It's if you didn't, if you could create your own pressure, and then not sort of rush things and do them half-cocked, you'd be in a much better position. And I think it's also certainly I find with business owners is there is just so much to do. There's so many things when you own a business, when you're a director in a business, that you've got different hats to wear. You've got external pressures on you, you've got internal pressures on you. You sort of have to accept that there's always going to be more to do than you can ever get done. And that's one of the first things you've really just got to accept, because if you don't, then you constantly feel that you're going to lose, and therefore why bother? So it's all about what you believe. Everything starts in your mind, and I love coming back to sort of Covey's 7 habits of highly effective people. All things are created twice: first mentally, second physically. We have a little concept, IVVM: idealize, visualize, verbalize, materialize. You've got to have this vision in your head, and then you can actually put that vision into practice. Talk about it, verbalize it out, write it down, and then it has a good chance of success. So, hi Sabrina.
Hello Kevin, sorry about that, technical hitches.
Got your computer working.
Yeah, thank you.
we've only just started, so we're just
Morning Gary.
We're setting the scene of the the concept of breaking the year down into 4 12 week, 90-day chunks.
Yes.
And the fact that we're born procrastinators. So that's our natural default. So everything we're trying to do to fight that is something that we've got to work on to get better at. So, and then the next one I've highlighted there, is this, measure performance. I think it goes into a bit more detail sort of later that, what gets measured gets improved. And if you do commit, if you do sort of say, right, this is what I'm going to achieve, and you are prepared to fail, then, measurement isn't a problem. If you look at sport, I love my golf, and every time I go out and play golf, I measure my golf. I keep the score, and there's some days I come back and my measurement stinks. It's rubbish. And I don't want to look at it again, but you have to measure it, because then you go out a day when it's actually good. I went round on Sunday and shot 5 over gross, and it's like, that's great. Now that's probably 1 in 10 times you actually score better than you actually planned to score. Yet when it comes to time management, it seems to be we forget that. We think we need to be perfect every single day, every single week. And I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve last week, and then next week we don't measure it, and then we go back and we drift back into our old ways. So that sort of measurement is just that, or preparedness to measure, and review and score every single day, every single week is so important to this. It does. It gives you I have a measurement for me is my inbox. So I run a 0 inbox. So my goal during the week is to get to nothing in my inbox. Yeah, I know people that have got 4,000 mails in their inbox. And I think, well, that is just, it's such a cluttered way of thinking. My goal is to get to 0. Do I get it to every week? No, probably if I'm lucky once a month. But that's always my goal, is to clear my inbox out. And guess what? Once I've cleared it out, tomorrow it'll be full of stuff again. So what was your take on that measurement, Sabrina?
Yes, well, I'm an analytical type of person, and I like measurement. I do measurement, but like you say, it was always much easier when I used to play tennis. I could measure my performance match by match, and always wanted to do better. It's in a sense, I used to be like that at work. It's a bit harder now, but I still, although I'm at home, I still have my lists, and I like to be able to tick them off. I think possibly, I remember that, we used to tell ourselves, right, well, when I've done that, I will have this goal of achieving this by a certain time, and then my reward will be. And the challenge comes when I can't think of a suitable reward. So I think, right, well, it doesn't matter if I don't do that yet, I'll do something else.
Yeah.
But I do try now, working from home, to have at least two reasonably significant things, even if it's only part of something, ticked off by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I like your, since we've been working with you and we've moved on to these 90-day plans, I do find that much more workable too than something, say, put a 6-month date on, oh, well, I've got ages before I get to that. We've got plenty of time to do that. We'll work on the sooner ones. I like the 90-day.
Bring the deadlines forward,
Yes. And the staff picked up on that very quickly. They liked the 90-day.
Yeah, cool. And then, this next point here, ruthless in blocking time, intentionality of time management. This is, so important. Sabrina will know, and others that we're coaching know that, we are sort of, just religious about our default diary. You set the diary that you want your week to be. If you could visualize your perfect week, how would it be structured? What would you do first thing Monday? What would you do Wednesday afternoon? What would you do Thursday? And you've got to be ruthless. You've got to say, right, that those blocks are the most important part of my time, and therefore that will happen. You know, so at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to play golf. You know, it's been blocked out since we've been able to actually book a golf, to play golf, and it's been blocked out. I've had numerous of requests to actually meet with me, have phone calls, do things which could have gone into that time. Yeah, but that to me is important to me, that I get my free time. I work really hard outside of that, but that is important to me. So it becomes a rock in my diary, and therefore it will happen. And it is that, again, that ruthlessness of saying, I can't do everything, so I'll do what I can do, but I'll do what I can do really well. So do what you can do well, and be prepared to drop other things. So, how good are you at that one, Gary? Are you good at blocking your time out?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
No, I'm very, very much reactive. Like you say, you mentioned the last few weeks, the default diary. Yeah, it's something I need to look into, because it sounds, like you say, it's not rigid, but it's structured. So it gives you an opportunity to, make things that are a priority to be a priority, rather than just firefighting all the time. It's definitely something I need to look into, because it sounds good to me.
So if you want to, if anybody watching this wants to do a copy of our template, it's just on Excel. It's just days along the top, times down the side, blocked out. Use a bit of colour to make it interesting, and you play with it. I always say do a default diary for who you want to be in 6 months' time, or 3 months. 3 months, 6 months seems a bit better. Working a little bit longer on that one. And then make sure you put it up on the wall. Make sure it's visual, because no good just doing it and then forgetting about it. You've got to remind yourself every day, this is what I want my week to look like. And for those of you, that are people that want to reduce down to perhaps 4 days a week, you've got to choose the day that you're not going to be there and scribble it out. Nothing goes in there. It's amazing how your brain will then say, right, okay, don't put things in on a Friday. And suddenly you'll find yourself, it might not be a whole Friday, but a Friday afternoon, then it'll be a Friday, then it'll be a Friday and Thursday, or a Friday and Monday. By actually blocking this out is really the only way I know to actually make it work. And then the next point about accountability, we have in action this sort of ownership, accountability, responsibility. So first you've got to take responsibility for your own life. Then you've got to be accountable, and then finally you take ownership. And I was taught many years ago that accountability is split in two. Initially there's third-party accountability. So when you were a kid, who held you accountable for cleaning your teeth?
My mother.
Your mother. So your mother was in charge of your accountability. Then you start to grow up, and your mother's helping you to actually then take self-accountability. So now it's your job to hold yourself accountable. Okay, so this sort of third-party accountability comes first, own accountability comes second. And if you look at the most successful people out there, one of the key things is they are pretty good at keeping themselves accountable. Yes, they will have coaches. Yes, they'll have other people to do that, but they're looking for that extra 10%. Rather than the 90%. Most people are not even holding themselves accountable to the 90%. They're not looking at this and saying, it's my responsibility to, my time is my responsibility. So if I get to the end of the week and I'm knackered, or I'm fed up, I haven't done what I should have done, and the blame, excuses and denial come in, well, it's rubbish. I'm working flat out, absolutely flat out at the moment. Yeah, and I'm okay with that, because I set a goal at the start of this sort of epic or pandemic. That's what I would do. That would be my commitment. Would be to give everything I've got to my clients and the people I know. So getting up at this sort of time to do a book club on a Friday morning, it's fine. I'm okay with that because I made that commitment. It was a conscious decision. Now, am I going to do that for the rest of the year? No way. Because, as Gary said, it's been 60 days and I'm starting to flag a little bit. So I'm going to have to get back to some form of new default diary from June, I think. So yeah, so that accountability is, I'm happy. No one has to tell me to do that. No one has to tell me to get up or do this or do that. It's commitment was made, and therefore the accountability comes. So difference between interesting. So this is an interesting commitment. You know, there's got to be a strong desire. You know, it's got to lead to action. You know. And you act on your commitments rather than how you feel. I love that concept. Yeah, act on your commitments versus how you feel. Yeah, you take a top athlete that has to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go training before they go to work. You know, when they wake up in that morning, do they feel like training? Do they feel like going to do those you know, that run, go down to the swimming pool, do those lengths? No, they don't. You know, they wake up with that feeling of dread, just like all of us do. You know, they go, oh, guys, do I really have to do this? You know, but whereas 99.9% of the population will roll over and go back to sleep, those guys get up and go and do it. You know, and that's the big thing is, you know, act on your commitment. If you've committed to it, then it doesn't matter how you feel, you'll still do it. And if you're doing things on feeling how you feel, then chances are you're not committed to it, which is okay. It's not a problem if that's a conscious decision that you're not committed. So Gary, do you resonate with this one?
Absolutely, yeah. And like you using your sports analogy sort of thing. You know, if you don't feel like you're doing it, or if you don't want to do it, you know your competitor is.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, you have to be the difference. You have to, you know, and it's a very good point. I like that.
That is great. You know, you speak to sports people, and that is their mentality. You know, I'm getting up half an hour earlier than every one of my competitors because that extra half an hour I know will be the difference. Yeah, and I know business owners that, you know, do that. You know, they're going to open up earlier than anybody else. You know, one of my clients has stayed open because he knew that his competitors weren't going to stay open. They were going to take the easy route and close down. So he took the hard route, stayed open. You know, and he's had, you know, the last sort of, you know, few weeks has been a benefit for that. Okay, because of that commitment drives the action. If you don't commit, you know, then you're stuck. Which goes back to that sort of visualization again. So, and you know, be successful, you've got to embrace you can't get certain things done. It really is that simple. You know, top athletes, you know, will commit to sport, but know that they won't be able to go out and eat nice, you know, eat in restaurants, go out on, you know, and drink with their mates. You know, have a social life. You know, they might have to forego work. You know, but they're okay with that. They've made that commitment that they're clear what they're going to have to, the pain that they're going to have to go through, or, you know, what they can't have for what they want. You know, you can't have it all. You can't have everything. You know, if you want a business, you know, if you want a successful business, you're going to have to make some sacrifices in other areas of your life. You know, eventually, hopefully you get everything, but in those early days of running a business, you have to make those sacrifices. I know, you know, Sabrina, you and John have, you know, can easily relate to that. You know, things that you haven't been able to do or haven't done because, you know, the business has always come first.
Too true. Yes, for years. Yes, we've sacrificed a lot, physically, mentally, and financially, I think.
Yeah.
Interestingly, lumping a few of those points together, I really admire athletes for their sense of commitment because in many cases they're doing it for themselves. I used to play team sports, and I being part of a team, when you commit, you're committing to the rest of the team. And therefore, it's crucial that you do your part. Now, my brother would say that I actually think I'm reasonably good at some of this, because my brother says I have the biggest sense of duty and guilt complex of anybody he knows.
Yeah.
And I feel horribly guilty if I say I'll do something and I don't do it, and I try not to let people down. But the danger there is, of course, you get burnt out. And also, going back to the time thing, if I've blocked out some time, but I've had distractions or interruptions, and I think, oh, that's all right, I can catch up, I can use that time I'd freed up. So things tend to run over. So I ended up having too long a day, just like John did, but still trying to do everything else in my life. And it wasn't any good. It certainly wasn't, because my big sense of duty is not to let people down.
Yeah, and that again can be we did a DISC profiling, and when we look at people's profiles, the S profile, which is the introverted people person, the supporter, they're very great team players. They won't let you down, but they tend to whatever you ask them to do, they'll say yes, because they don't want to let you down. But then they end up with too many things to do. All of them, they're 100% sure they're going to get them done, but they haven't quite prioritized, and that ability to say no, actually I can't do that up front, so I'll let you down now because I don't want to let you down later. That's a difficult one for that type of profile. So you can always tell a high S, that's because they're the ones that tend to work late, and do everyone else's work during the day, and then they do their own work in the evening. But that ability to say no and be clear, because the other danger with that is you're working to everyone else's goals. Great at helping other people achieve their goals, but are you really clear what your goal is? And if you are, then great. And if the two work together, brilliant. But often we're too busy helping other people achieve their goals, and then we get to the point, actually, I'm doing all the work. I'm lumbering all this stuff. I'm not actually living my own life, living to what I want to achieve. So clarity, real clarity around, and we come here, the disciplines, vision, planning, process. This is so important. You've got to be, if you really want to get good at this, you've got to be really clear what your vision is, what you want, and then commit to that and help other people as a result of that. If you get perfect alignment between my goals and the people around me's goals, that's brilliant. If it's too much my goals and not anyone else's, we become selfish. If it's everyone else's goals and not our goals, then eventually we become tired. So it's really often to check in. Okay, I'm helping other people achieve their goals, but am I really clear what my goals are, so that it can be a win-win. So, as you make this transition, the uncomfortable involves change. I think this, this sort of little sentence, this lot here, uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair, informed. I mean, that could sum up the last 60 days pretty clearly. When we started off, this will be, just a cold virus will be fine. And then we go, oh shit, it's going to be, it's not going to be quite as easy. Then it's, oh my God, we're at that bottom of the pit, and then we can start seeing the valley of the change. So, and I think this is where this bit here is where you need support. You need somebody to help you through this. Okay, be it fellow colleague, talks about buddies, be it a coach. You just need to somebody feeding back when you're down here to say it's okay. Yep, that's fine. That's exactly how I felt when I went through this. There is light on the other side, because the danger is you get to here and you go backwards. You start that habit, you set the default diary, you don't achieve the default diary, you get fed up, and therefore you go, it doesn't work, and you go back to your old ways. You've got to just keep, right, that one didn't work, okay, it's fine, we'll try another one. We'll do a little bit of it. That's one thing we could get in. And just build those habits on top of each other. is the way we go forwards. So the vision one is the next one I wanted to get your idea, because this one I see, for myself, I think it's sometimes quite difficult. It's certainly got easier over the years as I've practiced it more, but I certainly remember, before joining Action Coach, where, I didn't even think about this stuff. So Gary, what's your take on this sort of, vision of, what your time wants to be, and that emotional, and that emotional connection to making it happen?
It's a very good question. You say, without any vision, you're not going to achieve anything in the long run. So I think you can just do the motions, just go along, you get what you've always got, sort of thing. But with a good vision put within a decent framework, you can change what you've got, and achieve some good things. It's for me, this is probably the section where I need to think about a lot of these things. Like you say, we touched on it last week with the vision, goals, and it's a good point. And for me, it's something I need to think about. Yeah,
and so and the other thing, go back to that default diary. Let's say you said, right, I don't want to work Friday afternoons. I'm going to keep Friday afternoons free. So if you don't put something into Friday afternoon that you have an emotional connection to, then as soon as something else happens, it's going to get filled with other stuff. There's a law, the law of vacuum. Nature deplores a vacuum. So if you create a space, it will get filled. I empty my inbox. I know full well tomorrow it will get filled again. So we've got to say, if I'm going to do something, I've got to put something of value into that space. You can't have space in your diary without it having substance in it. Because if you don't put substance in it, when you get to that point and you have to think in the moment, it's too late, because you're just going to be reactive. Your reactive brain, your reptilian brain, will always kick in first, and therefore you'll go to the first fighty thing. And I see it so many times. Oh yeah, I kept Friday free, and I got to Friday and said, well, what did you do Friday? Oh yeah, but Charlie wanted the accounts done, and I had to do some invoicing, and Fred asked me to do this. So it got filled with stuff. There's no way that my Friday afternoon is going to get filled with anything, because I've put golf in it. I've booked a tea time. I've committed to a friend. And unless somebody dies or something serious happens, that ain't going to happen. Jane will tell you that one day she broke her finger. I took her to A&E. I left her in A&E because she was going to be there 4 hours before she got seen. I went to play golf, and I said, I'll pick you up when I'm done. Probably don't do that one. That's probably a little bit too selfish. But
sounds like my husband.
It's just me that's as good as multitasking as I get. So you've got to have that vision of, right, this is the life I want to live. This is what I want to get done, and there's got to be an emotional connection, because the emotion drives the action. Okay, that's how our brains are wired. We have a thought, we have a feeling, we have an action. Think, feel, act. And if you go think, act, it cannot be as strong as think, feel, act. Okay, and if you don't set the feeling, then something else, like you said, Sabrina, the feeling of letting other people down is a powerful feeling for you, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. So therefore, that will override pretty much anything. Yeah. So you've got to, if you want to do something for yourself, you've got to have a feeling that is overpowering that feeling of letting other people down.
Yes.
Otherwise, other people always come first.
My challenge is I can have all sorts of visions, strong emotional connections. But my challenge is when you're working with someone else and their vision isn't quite the same, it's making it all happen with priorities that you've got to try and match up and compromise.
And that's why we say within business, you know, the job of the leader, you know, the owner of the business is to set the vision, you know, and get people bought into that vision, because that's what brings everybody together. You know, if you're in a company that has no vision, isn't going anywhere, then, you know, you're going to struggle with this stuff.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everyone's going to have their own viewpoint of what's important to them, and you know, they're going to be going down this line or that line. So that visualization, that, I think Gary, you said, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Guys, this is what we're going to do. You know, and certainly now with, you know, coming out of this bounce back, you've got people coming back from, you know, from furlough that are going to be a bit dazed and confused. You know, it's you know, a month or so off and not playing golf, first time on the tee, trying to swing. I was, you know, fuzzy in the head. You know, that's what's going to happen with people when they come back off furlough. They're going to be fuzzy in the head. Well, you know, what should we do? They would have lost sight of the vision that you set, you know, probably 3 years ago. It might be clear in your head, but it probably isn't going to be clear in their head. So you've got to realign them back to, guys, look, thanks very much for coming back. You know, right, the long-term vision is still this, but we're not in that place anymore. We're in a new place. You know, our place now is bouncing back as quickly as we can. So we've got to relay another vision to them, yeah, which is they can get back into the space that they need to be. That's just so important for where we are now, is to realign visions. You know, your own, check in with that, and then with the company, and then with the whole team. So, you know, so pitfalls, pitfalls associated. Don't take the power vision seriously. You know, you don't connect. So if you don't believe it, it ain't going to happen. You know, don't. This is why I can't go to a company and say, look, this is your vision. You know, I can help you find your vision, but it has to come from here. It has to come from within you, where you want to be. You know, there's got to be some personal. So, you know, for all businesses I've taken through, you know, by building this business and getting it to the point where potentially you can sell it, what does it mean to you? What do you want to get out of the business? You know, without that, then, you know, yeah, everything else is, you are going to be reactive, because you're not going anywhere. So, you know, share it with others. You know, IVVM, idealize, visualize, verbalize. You know, you've got to sort of get it out there. Keep in touch with it. Sometimes, you know, certainly now we seem so far away from our original vision that you might be doubting it, but you just got to say this is just a blip on the journey. You know, it's a bit like driving. You know, I'm taking my car to Scotland and getting halfway and finding you've got 2 flat tires. You know, okay, I've got to fix the tires. You know, okay, it might take me some time. Yes, it will be inconvenient. Yes, I'm going to be late. But yeah, it doesn't mean I go, oh, I've got 2 flat tires and I'll turn around and go home again. No, I fix it and I get that sorted. Then I realign back to, I want to get back to Scotland. Yeah, but if you never wanted to go to Scotland in the first place, you know, you'll probably just abandon your car and go off wandering in the field somewhere. So you know, build this 12-week plan, break the goals into tactics, you know, and then focus on the tactics. You know, that whole adage, you know, how to eat an elephant, you know, one piece at a time. Just do one thing. You know, that's the key. And I think this is sometimes the hard bit. You know, is you know, okay, I've got the goal now. How do I break it down? And this is why I say with planning is the process is the most important, not necessarily the plan. The actual written plan is good because it allows you to remember, because my memory is not great, and it allows somebody else to hold you accountable. Okay, but the process of taking a goal and breaking it down into its bite-sized chunks is the most important thing. I work the 90-day plans with some clients. We write it, they get off, they start doing things, and because they're making success and they're achieving, because I'm looking at their plan on a regular basis. Yeah. Because I can't remember from one week to another what they're doing. So I need to refresh my mind. And then we'll get to the end of the quarter and they'll go, oh, I didn't do much this quarter, did I? I said, what do you mean? Said, well, I got stuck in this thing. Well, okay, well, let's get the plan out and let's review how you did. And they go, yeah, I did that. Oh, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. I did that. and they'll get 80% of it done. They go, oh, that wasn't so bad, was it? I said, no. So the plan is, they have the plan in their head because they went through the process. Okay. Writing it down just means we can go back and check in after 3 months and say, right, how did we do? Now, if we get a bit lost halfway, having the written plan helps us to get back on track. Okay. But for most people, the process of doing it gives the clarity of what I need to do. Okay, so this is why we've got to do that and then be clear what we actually work on each week for it. So when it went into the pitfalls with this, sort of, what any of those that sort of you find tripping you up, Gary?
Yes. Like you say, but if you don't have that vision, like you say, you make your plan, write it down, sort of thing. It's quite easy to lose focus. You always set out with the best intentions, right? By the end of this quarter, I'm gonna make sure I've done this, 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 and this. But I haven't written that down. I haven't communicated it to anybody, so it's just with me. So unless I stay focused, then it doesn't happen. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
So these points here, keep it simple. There are tough choices to make. You can kick the can down the road. If you want to achieve those things within that 90-day period or that 12-week period, you really do have to make the tough choices.
Yeah.
But like you said, write it down. Part of the process, so you understand the process, and you've got something to work to. Staying focused is probably one of the hardest parts.
It often is, because you've got those external factors, all those external things that come in, and it's like doing an assault course while people throwing rocks at you. It's like, I'm trying to focus over here, but and then you end up focused on the rocks, and then you fall off. And then you get up and wonder what you were trying to achieve in the first place. So that that staying focused is tough. These things. If this was all easy, everyone would be doing it, but they're not. Everybody would be Olympic athletes. They're not. A lot of this is not natural. It's not our default setting. Okay, if you look at sort of chimps, what do they do all day? They eat and they play. That's it. They just sit around. That's their life, and they're happy. They're happy doing that because they don't know any different. Unfortunately, we have this neocortex brain that has this ability to think forwards and actually go, you know what? Yeah, I can do more than this. So if we tap into that and then we put that into, right, okay, well, that's what I want, then this is what I need to do, then we can actually make it happen. And often, you'll amaze yourself what you can actually get done. So we talked about this one before, what gets measured gets done, what gets measured gets improved, I think. If you put a measurement on it and you track that measurement, that process of doing that, should inspire you. When I said back in sport, you keep the score. If you don't like the score, you've always got a choice. You can give up, but how many sports people give up when they have a bad day? Even the top tennis players, in their day, they've lost matches, and the ones they lose drive them on stronger than the ones they win. If you set your goals as wishy-washy, weak goals, and you achieve them every single day, how inspiring are they? They're not. So being prepared, setting those challenging goals. Right, this week there's 5 things I'm going to get done, 1 a day. Yeah, and that's a bit of a stretch because I've got the time in, but I've got But if you said, right, those are the 5 things I want to get done, you get to the end of the week, and he's saying that 85%. If you've got 4 of those 5 things done, You should see that as a success. Great. And if you get 2 done, then you've got to think, great. Why did I only get 2 when I set 5? What went wrong? I need to analyze it and then be aware of it. And then next week, right, I'm going to set 5 again. Yeah. And I guarantee you'll get more than 2 done if you've measured it on that way. Because your brain, your brain needs to succeed. It goes back the way, if you go out to hunt for food one day and you find no food, yeah, your brain is programmed to say, right, I'm going to try harder tomorrow. And if it finds no food that day, it will say, I'm going to try harder the next day. That's the program, and that's what we're designed to do. So failure should drive us on to more and more, but only if it's important. Food, for us is important. We don't have to think, is it important? It's genetically programmed into us that it's important. So we've got to just take that and transfer it into something that is less important than food, but emotionally is as important to us. So, again, people often, their measurements are too complicated. Certainly with the high C's in DISC, where they're very detailed orientated, they come up with complex systems, and it's like, well, just score yourself out of 10. How well did I do achieving my goals last week? 1 to 10. Well, it was about an 8. Okay, great. So what do you want to be next week? Oh, 9. Cool. So what do you need to do? Oh, that's right. If I was a bit more of this or a bit more of that, great, we'll do that. And I think this is where, that having someone to talk to about this is so important, because you will only push yourself to that point of pain. Yeah. The coach is there to push you to that next point of pain. Get 10% more out of you than you would do on your own. That feeling of, right, I'm talking to my coach next week, but have I actually done what I said I was going to do? And, a few people, bail out. They go, you know what, I don't want coaching anymore. And it's sad, because it's not they don't want coaching. It's, well, I'm not committed to my goal anymore. My goal isn't that important to me. So I'd much rather just do what I've always done. So I can help with the getting to where you want to be, but I can't help you with the goal. That's yours. You've got to want that enough. Like the marathon runner. The marathon runner only runs a marathon for themselves. They don't run for anybody else. Yeah. It's absolute rubbish, people that say, oh, I'm running for charity. No, you're not. You're running for yourself. I'm making some money for charity. So I want to just finish with this one, because I know this came from another book somewhere. An old client of mine actually told me about it, and I really liked the concept, and it was one that I must admit I'd forgotten about. And it was a good reminder for me. Was blocking, go back to that default diary and saying, right, I need these blocks, strategic blocks, 3-hour blocks, where I work on the business. Now that one I've always said, half a day, a week at least, is blocked out where I just focus working on the business. For me, that's Monday morning. Before interruptions come in, Monday morning is my work on the business. Okay, I do a coaching call first thing, have a cup of tea, sit down, and right now I plan my week. What am I going to get done this week? But it was the buffer blocks. These are 30 to 60 blocks of time where you deal with the various administrative tasks that you need to do on a daily basis. Normally 1 or 2 of these a day. Now, I'd forgotten about those, because I tend to back my coaching. But what I do find is when I get a cancellation of something, that becomes a buffer. Okay, so if I have a spare piece of time, it's sort of in my head, it's naturally a buffer, but I think I could be better at that one. Okay, it's actually just putting it in the diary and saying, right, that's my catch up. And then, breakout blocks, 3-hour blocks where you're free to enjoy yourself, embrace your creativity. Must have one of these every week. And to be honest, that's Friday afternoon for golf for me. There's something to work towards. It's my little treat. So that if you've done your jobs, you've got to a point, by Friday lunchtime, then you can go enjoy yourself. We're all kids at heart. Everyone. If you be good, clean your room, I'll buy you an ice cream. That programming, it can't be just me, but I don't think that's changed with any of us. Treat yourself, but book it in. There's too many people who don't treat themselves. You are your number one asset. Treat yourself like it. Sport yourself. Do things that make you. Because if you're in a better place, if you're in a good place, you're in a far better place to help other people. If you're drained and knackered and twitchy and irritable, you are not in a place to help anybody, let alone yourself. Okay. And then, other blocks, time slots where you include other things that must be done. So basically it's that sort of concept of the default diary, blocking it in, so that, things get done. How did that resonate for you, Sabrina? Was that on point?
Yes. The important thing for me on all these things is I really appreciate the principles and I get so far with it. But I think what I need to do is have this visible all the time. Like you say, commit it to paper. But the important thing then is to keep the focus, keep referring to it, make sure that these things actually happen. It's much easier for me to have a breakout block now and treat myself, albeit it's at home. But the other things, to try and be disciplined about the different blocks and not let them merge into each other.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Don't let them merge. Be clear which block you're in.
Yes.
Right, I am in this block. I'm here. I'm wearing my different hats. Brad talked many years ago about when he sort of started up in his first office. He had a desk for each role. So he had his finance and admin desk, his coaching desk, his sales desk, and he would jump around because in his mind, his visualization was at some point in the future, I won't be at that desk. I'm doing the job at the moment, but I won't be in that desk. I'll have somebody else sat in that desk doing it. And that to me was just like, wow, somebody that can think so far ahead with what's that going. Whereas most people running their own businesses, it's just you at that desk and that's it. And there's no visualization. And guess what? In a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, you're going to be still sat at that one desk. What about you, Gary, on that one? What was your takeaway?
Yeah, it's very good. Like you say, it resonates with the default diary. I think for a lot of people, like you say, you've got those specific tasks that everybody has to do. For the likes of me and possibly Sabrina, it's delegation is quite important as well.
Yeah.
And that big word as well that nobody likes to say, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. So it's good and something definitely to think about.
It goes back to that valuing your time. What is your time worth? And are you doing stuff that somebody else could do that would free you up to do higher level stuff? You have an old saying, he's saving you a wage, costing you a fortune. The ability to just get somebody to delegate stuff to. And in today's virtual world, it is so easy. I got there's a VA that comes to our networking group, and she's got this little app that you basically put on your phone. You dictate into the app, push a button, and it sends it to her. She types it, and it's back with you within a couple of hours. It's just the tech is there. If you're clear what you want to achieve, you will find a solution to it. If you're not clear what you want to achieve, then you're destined to be repeating that the rest of your life. And that's, I think that's for me is really the message from this. What I've been sort of trying to get through to so many people is if you can't visualize it, you can't achieve it. You've got to visualize what your time management needs to look like in the future. And then you've got to say, right, if that's what I want, then what do I need to do to actually make it happen? And this bit, what's the final bit down here, state of being bound emotionally or intellectually, some course of action. Often, people sort of say things, stated intention versus unconscious intention. That's a tough one, because people say things, oh, this is what I want, but do you really want that? Have you really thought about it? Is it just something you're saying because that's what you think other people should hear, or do you really want that? Because pretty much, if you think back in your life, everything you've really, 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 really wanted, there's a good chance you've already got. Okay, so everything you really set your mind, so that's what I really want: the house, the car, the job, whatever it is. You've either achieved it or you are strongly in the process of achieving it. What happens is once you've achieved all those things, we don't then set new goals. We don't set bigger goals. We get into our comfort zone. We get into, well, this is okay, I'm all right, and then we stop, and then we just become, busy fools. We just round and round the hamster wheel. We haven't set a new set of goals that, right, this is what I want to come, and therefore, that's what I'm going to go and achieve. And yes, there are. If you really want big goals, determine the cost that you will have to pay. There's always a payback in life. There's a balance. So if you want this, you're going to have to forego that. And you've got to be prepared. You're prepared to forego that to achieve that. If you want to go down to a 4-day week, the one thing you're going to have to relinquish is control. You can't control your business on a 4-day week. So you've got to be prepared to let go. You've got to be prepared to say, right, actually, that's not my job. My job is to get other people to do that job better than I could do it. That's the key part to a business. That ability to do that. If you think, if you're not prepared to go through that, then guess what? You're going to be there till 10 o'clock at night. We know John, with you, Sabrina, John's, classic example of that. He's so keyed up on control that, letting go is the hard bit. He's got to face it. He's got to face, I've got to start letting go and getting better people to actually do that work for them. Yeah. So just to finish off, don't overcommit. When you do commit, make it public. You've got to share it with somebody else. Put it up on the wall. Tell people this is what I want to do, and buddy up. Tell your coach. Say, right, this is my commitment. This is what I'm actually going to achieve. And and it is hard. We want this immediate gratification. We want quick wins, but it doesn't always happen. We try to do too much too soon, and then fail, and then we don't like fail, and we go back to the old ways. Or victim thinking. We just blame. I couldn't do it because of the environment, because of my team, because of the customers, because of the IT, because of this, because of that. It's all rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Yes, there will be some challenges. Yes, it ain't going to be easy. Yes, you are going to fail more times than you succeed in the start. But if you want it, if you make the commitment to it, then you can get that time, the time to do what you want to do. 100% possible. Cool. Good. So, final thoughts, Sabrina. What's your final takeaway and your action to commit to as a result of this book?
A bit more measurement, I think, and a bit more. I'm most of the way there on a lot of this, but I don't. I need to be more disciplined, and reassess rather than letting things lapse a bit. And as you say, not refocusing. And more measurement. Yeah, I think there's a bit of work to do there.
Okay, so measurement, the top one. Yeah, so it's measure success, measure, you know, the goals that have been set. You know, how many times do you actually get to work on the business and be in control of it, I think.
There's another key one actually that you mentioned just now, and that is to go public with your commitments.
Yeah.
Because if people don't know what you're doing or what you've committed to do, then it doesn't matter if you don't do them.
No.
And being at home and out of the way, it's very easy. Nobody knows what I've actually said I'm going to do, and if I don't do it, they don't know.
There you go. So I'll expect your list for next week's session then. So.
Right.
Gary, what about you?
I think for me, it's probably the time blocking. The blocking and the default diary, and trying to tie that into those goals for those 90 days.
Yeah.
I think the hard part is going to try and figure out the goals for the 90 days. No, it gives me a good framework to work towards.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, look, if you do struggle with 90 days, just do a month. Okay, start shorter. Just start, because we are still in a uncertain times at the moment, and 90 days can be difficult to think that far forward. So if that is the case, just start with this month. This is what I want to get done. This is where I want to be in 30 days. Okay? And if you struggle with a month, say do a week. Okay, we've just got to get our brains thinking a little bit further forward than we normally think. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate you being on the call, and we'll look forward to the next one. So, take care. Have a great bank holiday weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye, Sabrina.
See you later.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Gary.